How about this for a headline? NVIDIA just reported $82 billion in quarterly revenue, and that's an 85% jump from last year.
That's incredible. And it's not just NVIDIA. Micron is seeing explosive growth too. Let's dive into what's driving these numbers.
Welcome to DeActa Daily Digest. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Juniper. Here are today's top stories.
So let's start with NVIDIA and Micron, two companies that are essentially the backbone of the AI revolution. NVIDIA, of course, is the leader in GPUs, the chips that power everything from gaming to massive AI models. And Micron? They're the ones supplying the memory that makes those systems run.
And when we say massive growth, we're not exaggerating. NVIDIA's Q1 revenue for fiscal year 2027 hit $82 billion, with $75 billion of that coming from their data center segment. That's an 85% year-over-year increase. And their networking sales, those tripled.
It's wild. CEO Jensen Huang even called the rollout of their Blackwell platform the fastest product ramp in the company's history. One of the standout deployments is Microsoft's Fairwater, which is running hundreds of thousands of Blackwell GPUs. That's the kind of scale we're talking about.
And they're not slowing down. For Q2, NVIDIA is projecting $91 billion in revenue with a 75% gross margin. But it's not just about the numbers. They're also expanding their ecosystem. Their Blackwell and Rubin platforms are expected to generate up to $1 trillion in revenue between 2025 and 2027. And their Vera CPU, that's another $200 billion market opportunity.
Meanwhile, Micron is riding the same wave. Their fiscal Q3 revenue came in at $41.5 billion, so that's a staggering 346% increase year over year, and their gross margin hit a record 84.9%. Their CEO, Sanjay Mehrotra, said demand for DRAM and NAND is so high that supply won't catch up until at least 2027.
And their HBM4 product is ramping up twice as fast as its predecessor, HBM3E. They've already generated over $1 billion in HBM4 revenue. But what's really interesting is how they're trying to stabilize their business. They've signed 16 strategic customer agreements, which guarantee $100 billion in minimum contracted revenue. These agreements even include price floors that are higher than historic peak margins.
It's a smart move. Memory markets have always been cyclical, but Micron is trying to break that cycle. They've even collected $22 billion in cash deposits tied to these agreements. It's like they're turning a traditionally volatile business into something more predictable.
But even with all this success, there are risks. For both companies, weakening HBM pricing or a reduction in hyperscaler capital spending could be major challenges. And let's not forget the broader macroeconomic factors like rising interest rates, which tend to hit high-growth equities hard.
And for NVIDIA, there's also the uncertainty around China. Their guidance actually excludes China data center compute, which is a huge market, but also a volatile one. It's a reminder that even the most dominant companies have vulnerabilities.
What's fascinating is how the market perceives these two companies. NVIDIA is trading at around 25 times forward PE, while Micron is closer to 6 times forward earnings. Micron is becoming a favorite for value-oriented investors, while NVIDIA remains the go-to for those chasing high-growth opportunities.
It's a great example of how different strategies can succeed in the same market. NVIDIA is focused on expanding its ecosystem, while Micron is locking in long-term demand. Both are riding the AI wave, but in very different ways.
And speaking of waves, let's shift gears to a much more volatile arena, the Middle East. Our next story takes us to the brink of international conflict, where an Israeli airstrike nearly led to a clash with Turkey.
This is one of those stories that really makes you pause. The airstrike targeted the Abu al-Duhur military airbase in Syria, and according to U.S. envoy Tom Barrack, it might have been politically motivated. He suggested that the operation could have been intended to provoke Turkey or serve as a pre-election move for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Barrack was careful to frame his comments as conjecture, not classified intelligence. But his hypotheses are compelling. One theory is that Israel wanted to elicit a Turkish reaction. Operating jets near a national border without prior coordination is incredibly risky, and it recalls past incidents like Turkey shooting down a Russian fighter jet near its frontier.
The second theory is even more intriguing. Barrack suggested that the strike might have been aimed at domestic audiences in Israel, portraying Netanyahu as a strong leader ahead of elections. It's a reminder of how domestic politics can influence international actions in ways that escalate tensions.
There's also an operational angle. Barak mentioned that Israel had alerted the U.S. about potential Turkish military movement into the Abu al-Duhur site. But after reviewing the intelligence, U.S. officials concluded that no such movement was occurring. Despite this, Israeli aircraft struck the base without notifying Turkey.
That lack of communication nearly led to disaster. Turkish forces were on the verge of scrambling fighters to intercept the unknown aircraft. Barak emphasized how quickly such situations can spiral into direct conflict, even if neither side intends it.
What's remarkable is Turkey's restraint. According to Barak, Turkish officials focused on avoiding a kinetic confrontation with Israel, recognizing that a clash would destabilize the region. Oh, it's a rare example of cooler heads prevailing in a highly volatile situation.
But the broader context is just as important. This incident is part of a larger contest over Syria's future. Israel wants to prevent Syrian-based military systems from restricting its freedom of action, while Turkey's expanding role in Syria is reshaping the regional balance.
It's a geopolitical chess game with Syria as the board. And while there's tension, there's also surprising cooperation. Barak noted that Turkey, Israel, and Syria are coordinating nightly operations to target ISIS cells. It's a strange bedfellow situation, but it shows how common threats can force collaboration.
It's a stark contrast to the public posturing and sharp rhetoric. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, dismissed Barak's comments as inaccurate and politically motivated. He claimed the airstrike was necessary and successful, framing Turkey as having been forced to step back.
It's a reminder of how narratives are shaped, often to serve domestic audiences. But beneath the rhetoric, the risks are very real. It's a delicate balancing act where one misstep could have catastrophic consequences.
And speaking of balancing acts, our final story takes us to a very different kind of battlefield, the hockey pitch. The U.S. women's national team recently played to a 1-1 draw with New Zealand in the second phase of the FIH Hockey World Cup in Belgium.
It was a hard-fought match. The U.S. fell behind early with New Zealand scoring in the 8th minute, but the team rallied in the second half, showcasing their resilience and defensive strength.
Claire Danahy's equalizer in the 39th minute was a standout moment. Her individual run and finish leveled the match and gave the U.S. a crucial point in pool play.
The game was a defensive showcase with goalkeeper Kelsey Bing making several key saves to keep the score tied. It's a testament to the team's grit and determination.
But beyond the game, there's a deeper story. The U.S. team operates without government funding, relying entirely on private support. It's a reminder of the challenges faced by athletes in less mainstream sports.
And yet they continue to compete at the highest level, driven by passion and perseverance. It's a story of dedication that deserves more recognition.
From the heights of AI innovation to the brink of geopolitical conflict, and finally to the grit of the hockey pitch, today's stories remind us of the incredible breadth of human endeavor.
And the resilience it takes to navigate it all. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us.